Yeah, the food, but Miss Waters, I didn't know you had a little freak in your arm.
You think you know Martin, the laughter, the catchphrases, the wild characters, but behind the comedy that defined a generation, something much stranger was happening. From a Golden Gloves boxer turned TV icon, to a hospital bed doubling as a real film set, the hit 90s sitcom was hiding stories even crazier than its episodes. What really went down behind the cameras? How did off-screen feuds, accidents, and pure luck shape one of Fox's biggest shows ever? Stay tuned, because once you hear these 15 facts, you'll never watch Martin the same way again. 9 characters, 1 actor. One of the most remarkable things about Martin was Martin Lawrence himself. His range as a performer became the heart of the show, a one-man showcase of comedy, creativity, and pure energy. Over the course of 5 seasons, Lawrence didn't just play Martin Payne. He transformed into 9 completely different characters, each so distinct in voice, personality, and movement that audiences often forgot they were all played by the same man. This wasn't simple costume work or a few voice changes. Lawrence built each persona from scratch, giving them unique rhythms, postures, and quirks that turned them into fully realized characters who became fan favorites in their own right. The most iconic, of course, was Shirley Jenkins, Martin's loud, unapologetically confident neighbor and cosmetologist who proudly declared herself a lady, no matter how wild things got. Shirley was so beloved that she even earned her own recurring segments on Martin's fictional show within a show. Then came Mama Payne, Martin's fierce, no-nonsense mother who always stood up for her son and never hesitated to get to slicing if anyone dared to cross her family. Another fan favorite was Jerome, the original playa from the Himalayas, complete with gold grills, flashy outfits, and his own theme song. He embodied the over-the-top ladies' man stereotype with outrageous charm and perfect comedic timing. There was also Dragonfly Jones, a hilariously inept martial arts instructor whose lessons usually ended in chaos. Roscoe, the mischievous little boy with runny nose energy. Bob from marketing, the awkward white corporate worker. Elroy Preston, a smooth-talking hustler. King Beef, a flamboyant stage performer. And Old Otis, the grumpy old man ready to chase anyone off his property. What made all of these transformations extraordinary was Lawrence's total commitment. He didn't just put on a wig or a voice, he became these people. Through impeccable timing, body language, and improvisation, he created a universe of unforgettable characters that expanded far beyond the show's walls. Hospital bed became film set. In one of the most extraordinary and touching moments in television history, the team behind Martin went to incredible lengths to support one of their own. When Garrett Morris, who played Stan Winters, Martin's quirky, cologne-obsessed boss at radio station WZUP, was shot during a robbery attempt in 1994, the production could have easily written him off the show. Instead, they chose compassion and creativity. The attack left Morris severely injured, with a gunshot wound to the intestine that required 10 major surgeries and months of recovery with a colostomy bag. Filming his usual scenes was impossible, but rather than erase him from the story, the writers crafted a clever plot twist. Stan Winters would undergo plastic surgery to escape the IRS after falling behind on $20,000 in taxes, a lighthearted sitcom-style excuse for his sudden disappearance. The most remarkable part came next. The producers decided to film the scene in Morris's actual hospital room, transforming his real recovery into part of the show. Lights, cameras, and sound equipment were brought into the medical facility so they could capture the moment, blurring the line between fiction and reality in a way few series had ever dared. When Morris finally returned in Season 3, he appeared walking with a cane, a subtle acknowledgement of his real-life ordeal. The show explained it away as the result of a car accident, but fans who knew the truth saw something far deeper, a story of resilience, loyalty, and a cast and crew who refused to leave a friend behind. Brahman's math error. one of the most charming and completely accidental. Running gags in Martin came from a character who just couldn't get his math right, and somehow that made him even more lovable. Brahman from the fifth floor, played by Reginald Ballard, became a fan favorite for his slow, easygoing vibe and unbothered attitude. Every time he appeared, he'd greet Martin with his signature line, "I'm Brahman from the fifth floor," while confidently holding up his hand to show how many floors up he lived. The catch? He always held up 4 fingers instead of 5. That tiny mistake, never corrected, never explained, became an inside joke among fans. It perfectly captured Brahman's slightly offbeat, always chill personality. What's even funnier is that the mistake wasn't planned at all. There's no sign in the scripts or interviews that it was written as a joke about his counting. Ballard likely made the gesture on instinct during his first scene, and either no one noticed, or they realized it was so true to the character that they just let it ride. Over time, the 4-finger fifth floor moment became legendary among viewers. Fans would point it out, laugh about it online, and celebrate it as one of the show's funniest unintentional details. Ironically, Reginald Ballard himself was no fool. He was a college football player who earned a full scholarship to Southern Methodist University before transferring to the University of Missouri, where he also pursued theater. Martin's boxing past was real. Long before Martin Lawrence became one of comedy's biggest stars, he was literally fighting his way toward success in the boxing ring. As a teenager, Lawrence was a serious amateur boxer, competing in the New York Golden Gloves, where he earned runner-up and later winning an AAU championship. That discipline, focus, and drive would later shape the same intensity he brought to his comedy. His boxing past made the Martin Season 2 episode Guard Your Grill, which aired on February 27, 1994, even more entertaining. In it, Martin steps into the ring against real-life legend Tommy the Hitman Hearns, a 5-division world champion, and the results are pure chaos. Written by Lawrence himself, the episode turns Martin's overconfidence into slapstick gold. Hearns demolishes him in the ring, sending him flying and leaving him battered. But behind the exaggerated humor was something surprisingly authentic. Lawrence's real boxing experience gave the fight scenes a sense of rhythm and realism rarely seen in sitcoms. His stance, footwork, and timing came naturally, grounding the comedy in something real. In later interviews, including one with The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Lawrence credited boxing for shaping his physical comedy style. The same focus and precision he used to dodge punches, he said, became the foundation for his energetic performances on screen. In a way, the boxer never left the ring. He just swapped gloves for laughs, real song from a fake performance. In one of the smartest and most seamless blends of reality and fiction on Martin, a moment that looked like Gina simply performing a song at a talent show was actually something much bigger. A hidden showcase for Tisha Campbell's real-life music career. The song she performed, Push, wasn't written for the show at all. It was a real single that Campbell had released in 1993, meaning that audiences watching the episode were unknowingly seeing the actress promote her actual music through her character. Before she became Gina Waters, Campbell was already building a dual career as both an actress and a singer. She had first shown off her vocal chops in the 1986 film Little Shop of Horrors, performing as part of a Motown-inspired trio, and later released her own solo material, including Push, as an official single. The Martin writers found the perfect opportunity to highlight her talent in the variety show episode, letting Gina perform on screen while Tisha Campbell, the artist, got to shine in real life. It wasn't just a cover or a random song written for TV. It was an intentional creative move that blurred the line between character and performer. What made it even more impressive was how naturally it fit into the story. Gina's performance made sense within the plot, yet for fans watching at home, it felt like a mini concert, a glimpse into Campbell's genuine artistry. Detroit location. At a time when most sitcoms were filmed entirely on sound stages in California but pretended to take place elsewhere, Martin broke the mold. The show took the bold and costly step of actually filming on location in Detroit, Michigan, the real hometown of its main character, Martin Payne. That decision gave the series a level of authenticity few 1990s shows could match. Back then, most productions stayed in Los Angeles or New York for convenience and budget reasons. But Martin's creators wanted something real. Not just a backdrop, but a city with soul. Detroit's distinct architecture, neighborhoods, and unmistakable energy became a vital part of the show's identity. Its streets, skyline, and landmarks weren't just scenery. They were characters of their own, framing Martin's life as a radio DJ and later a TV host navigating fame, friendship, and chaos in the Motor City. The production team regularly traveled between Los Angeles and Detroit, shooting interiors on sound stages and exteriors on location. Those real city shots gave the show its gritty warmth and helped audiences feel like they were truly stepping into Martin's world, not some studio's idea of urban life. Beyond its artistic impact, filming in Detroit also boosted the local economy. The show created temporary jobs, supported small businesses, and even featured real Detroit residents as extras in crowd scenes, adding another layer of realism. In the end, that commitment to authenticity set Martin apart. It wasn't just another sitcom set in a city. It was a love letter to Detroit in the 1990s. Vibrant, tough, funny, and full of pride. Just like the show itself. Take 6 sang the later theme. In a twist that many fans may not have noticed, the beloved theme song that opened Martin in its later seasons wasn't just catchy. It was performed by Take 6, the Grammy Award-winning a cappella gospel group celebrated for their lush harmonies and soulful sound. It was an unexpected pairing, a spiritual vocal group lending their voices to one of television's wildest comedies. But it worked perfectly. Take 6 stepped in during seasons 4 and 5, replacing the instrumental theme that had defined the show's earlier years. Their signature vocal layering gave the opening a fresh, dynamic feel, polished yet playful, perfectly matching the show's evolution as it grew into one of Fox's biggest hits. Formed in 1980 at Oakwood College in Alabama, Take 6 had already earned critical acclaim as pioneers in contemporary gospel and jazz. Known for creating intricate harmonies entirely without instruments, the group had collected multiple Grammy Awards and collaborated with legends like Quincy Jones, Whitney Houston, and Stevie Wonder long before joining Martin. Bringing them on marked a major musical shift for the show, from funky instrumentals to a sophisticated, gospel-infused sound. It reflected the show's growth. Bigger stars, bolder stories, and a confidence that matched Martin Lawrence's comedic brilliance. What made the collaboration especially fascinating was the contrast. Take 6's uplifting spiritual tone against the show's outrageous, often chaotic humor. And yet, somehow, it worked beautifully. Their harmonies captured the joy, rhythm, and sense of community that Martin had always celebrated. Years later, members of Take 6 would recall recording the theme as one of their most unique and memorable projects. A chance to bring their gospel roots to a whole new audience through a sitcom that, like their music, had heart, energy, and soul. Gary Coleman's Terrifying Twist. One of the most surprising and brilliant casting moves in Martin's history came when the writers decided to completely flip Gary Coleman's wholesome child star image on its head by making him one of the show's most intimidating villains. In the Season 3 episode High Noon, which aired on March 9, 1995, Coleman played Mad Dog No Good, an ex-convict obsessed with getting revenge on Martin after being released from prison. The plot follows Martin as he learns from the district attorney that Mad Dog, the criminal he once helped put behind bars, is out on parole and has been watching Martin's TV show from his cell. Things take a tense turn when Mad Dog calls Martin live on the air to announce his release and demand a face-to-face meeting. Naturally, chaos follows as Martin's friends scatter in fear. The true genius of the episode lies in the reveal. After all the build-up, the audience expecting a towering, dangerous villain suddenly meets Gary Coleman, all 4 feet 8 inches of him, walking in with total seriousness. He plays the role completely straight, never winking at the camera or leaning into the joke, which only makes the contrast between his size and his supposed menace even funnier. By turning the sweet, innocent Arnold Jackson from Different Strokes into a vengeful ex-con, Martin created one of its most unforgettable and hilariously ironic moments. It was a perfect example of the show's fearless sense of humor, taking pop culture icons and reimagining them in ways no one saw coming. Big Shirley's continuity error. One of the most surprising and brilliant casting moves in Martin's history came when the writers decided to completely flip Gary Coleman's wholesome child star image on its head by making him one of the show's most intimidating villains. In the Season 3 episode High Noon, which aired on March 9, 1995, Coleman played Mad Dog No Good, an ex-convict obsessed with getting revenge on Martin after being released from prison. The plot follows Martin as he learns from the district attorney that Mad Dog, the criminal he once helped put behind bars, is out on parole and has been watching Martin's TV show from his cell. Things take a tense turn when Mad Dog calls Martin live on the air to announce his release and demand a face-to-face meeting. Naturally, chaos follows as Martin's friends scatter in fear. The true genius of the episode lies in the reveal. After all the build-up, the audience expecting a towering, dangerous villain suddenly meets Gary Coleman, all 4 feet 8 inches of him, walking in with total seriousness. He plays the role completely straight, never winking at the camera or leaning into the joke, which only makes the contrast between his size and his supposed menace even funnier. By turning the sweet, innocent Arnold Jackson from Different Strokes into a vengeful ex-con, Martin created one of its most unforgettable and hilariously ironic moments. It was a perfect example of the show's fearless sense of humor, taking pop culture icons and reimagining them in ways no one saw coming. Gina's sorority colors revealed. In one of the show's most subtle yet meaningful details, the Martin episode Old School Loving quietly revealed something important about Gina's background, and many viewers may have missed it. When Gina decides to redecorate her and Martin's bedroom, she chooses pink and green as the new color scheme, casually explaining that they're her sorority colors. That simple comment immediately identifies her as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Incorporated, aka. A small moment with big cultural significance. For those familiar with Black Greek life, the reference was unmistakable. Alpha Kappa. Alpha, founded in 1908 at Howard University, is one of the most prestigious and historic African-American sororities in the United States. Its iconic salmon pink and apple green have represented scholarship, sisterhood, and service for over a century. By including this detail, the writers gave Gina's character an extra layer of depth, hinting at her education, social ties, and personal pride without ever spelling it out. It was more than a decorating choice. It was a nod to a shared cultural legacy and a subtle affirmation of who she was. In the episode's story, Martin gets Gina fired from her job, and in response, she channels her frustration into redesigning their home. Choosing her sorority's colors becomes both an act of self-expression and a way to reconnect with her identity during a moment of personal upheaval. It's a perfect example of how Martin used small details to create fully realized characters while keeping its comedic rhythm. And it also showed the show's ongoing commitment to authentic representation, celebrating real aspects of African American culture, including the pride and tradition of historically Black colleges and sororities like Alpha Kappa Alpha, movie references hidden in plain sight. One of the show's most cleverly written running jokes came from how Martin loved to blur the line between fiction and reality, especially when it came to Tisha Campbell, who played Gina. Throughout the series, Martin's character would casually reference movies that featured Campbell herself, without ever acknowledging that the actress he was talking about was sitting right beside him. These moments created a strange, hilarious kind of meta-humor where Martin would praise or comment on some actress from one of Campbell's past films, completely ignoring that she was literally his on-screen girlfriend. The best example appears in the episode Romeo and Juliet, when Martin mentions the girl from school days, calling her beautiful. Fans instantly recognized it as a wink to Tisha Campbell's role as Jane Toussaint in Spike Lee's 1988 film. The writers doubled down on the joke in another episode featuring hip-hop duo Kid and Play, when Shanae asks Kid if he'd kiss her like the light-skinned girl in House Party. Once again, the show was teasing the audience because that light-skinned girl was, of course, Tisha Campbell. Even funnier, Martin Lawrence had starred in House Party 2. This running gag created a kind of hilarious paradox. In the Martin universe, the movies that Lawrence and Campbell had actually starred in were treated as random pop culture references, not part of their own reality. The writers took it even further in another episode, when Martin gets a handheld TV and jokes that he can now watch Def Comedy Jam and The Martin Show, essentially referencing his own real-life career as if it existed in a completely different world. These layers of self-awareness showed how smartly Martin was written. To casual viewers, the jokes felt like throwaway lines, but for fans in the know, they were inside nods to the actors' real lives and careers. Garrett Morris's revenge story. In one of the strangest and most unexpected real-life stories connected to Martin, actor Garrett Morris, known for playing the eccentric radio boss Stan Winters, revealed that some of his fans once took justice into their own hands after he was shot during a robbery in 1994. According to Morris, when his attacker was eventually caught and sent to prison, several inmates who happened to be fans of his work decided to deliver their own revenge. Behind bars, they reportedly beat up the robber, claiming they were avenging the actor who had made them laugh for years. Morris later learned about the incident through various sources and admitted he was stunned. The idea that people he had never met, and who were serving time in prison, would go so far to defend him was both shocking and oddly moving. A seasoned comedian and performer, Morris was already a television pioneer long before Martin. As one of the original cast members of Saturday Night Live in the 1970s, he had broken barriers for black comedians and later won over a new generation of fans through his role as the charming, cologne-obsessed Stan Winters. He spoke about the street justice incident with a mix of disbelief and dark humor, joking that he never imagined his comedy career would inspire people to commit actual acts of vengeance. The bizarre story ultimately highlighted just how deeply Garrett Morris had connected with audiences across decades, from comedy clubs and sketch shows to sitcoms and movie screens. His humor had reached people from all walks of life, even behind prison walls. Tommy's perfect attendance record. In one of the most impressive examples of consistency and dedication in television, Thomas Mickle Ford, who played the calm and good-natured Tommy Strawn, earned a distinction no one else on Martin could match. He was the only cast member to appear in every single episode of the show's 5-season run. Across all 132 episodes from 1992 to 1997, Ford never missed a single appearance. A remarkable feat considering the behind-the-scenes conflicts, health issues, and personal disputes that caused other cast members to step away during the later years. On screen, Tommy was the voice of reason in Martin's chaotic group of friends, the steady, level-headed one who tried to keep the peace while everyone else spun out of control. Ironically, one of the show's longest-running jokes was that no one actually knew what Tommy did for a living. Yet, despite that mystery, his reliability became one of the sitcom's most grounding elements. When tensions rose behind the scenes, especially during the show's final season, when key characters like Gina and Cole were missing from several episodes, Ford's unwavering presence kept the chemistry alive. He remained loyal to both the production and the fans, providing a sense of continuity when things around him were falling apart. But Ford's commitment went far beyond just showing up. His performance gave Martin its emotional balance. As the straight man to Martin Lawrence's wild antics, he brought subtle humor, warmth, and a quiet strength that made Tommy one of the show's most beloved characters. Tragically, Thomas Mickle Ford passed away in 2016 at the age of 52, leaving behind a legacy of professionalism and heart. When Martin, the reunion aired in 2022, the cast and crew honored him with deep affection, celebrating not only his perfect attendance record, but the kindness, humor, and humanity he brought to every scene. The Little Shop of Horrors connection. Before Martin. The effortless chemistry between Tisha Campbell and Tichina Arnold, the iconic duo behind Martin's Gina and Pam, didn't just happen on set. It had roots that stretched back 6 years before the sitcom ever began. In 1986, both actresses appeared together in the cult musical film Little Shop of Horrors, where they were part of a lively singing trio performing throughout the movie. The film, based on the hit off-Broadway musical about a man-eating plant, also starred Rick Moranis, Ellen Greene, and Steve Martin. That early collaboration gave Campbell and Arnold a chance to develop a real professional bond, and more importantly, a friendship. Working on a musical required discipline and precision, singing in harmony, nailing choreography, and repeating takes over and over again. Through that process, they learned each other's timing, rhythm, and comedic instincts, a foundation that would prove invaluable years later. When casting for Martin began in the early 1990s, producers immediately recognized the natural rapport the two women shared. Their off-screen friendship translated seamlessly into their roles as Gina and Pam, giving their on-screen relationship an authenticity that couldn't be faked. That genuine connection became one of Martin's greatest strengths, grounding the show's wild humor with warmth, sass, and sisterhood. It wasn't just great acting. It was the result of years of trust and teamwork that began long before television ever called. The awkward series finale. The final episodes of Martin remain one of the most unusual and technically challenging finales in television history. The creative team was tasked with delivering an emotional goodbye to Martin and Gina's love story, without ever showing the two lead actors in the same scene. The challenge stemmed from a legal settlement following Tisha Campbell's 1997 lawsuit against Martin Lawrence and the show's producers, in which she accused Lawrence of sexual harassment and verbal and physical abuse. As a result, Campbell stepped away from most of Martin's 5th season. After the lawsuit was resolved, Campbell agreed to return for the 2-part finale, but only under one condition. She would not appear on set with Lawrence, nor have any direct interaction with him during filming. That condition created an unprecedented production dilemma: how to end a romantic sitcom without its couple ever sharing the screen. The directors and editors had to get creative. They relied on strategic camera angles, careful editing, and clever blocking to give the illusion that Martin and Gina were together. Scenes were structured so the characters entered and exited at different times, and dialogue was stitched together through editing rather than real interaction. The writers reworked the storyline to keep both characters emotionally connected, preparing to move to Los Angeles and start a new chapter, even though the actors never filmed side by side. To sharp-eyed viewers, the separation was noticeable, and the usual spark between the couple was missing. Still, the finale managed to bring closure to their story, offering fans a heartfelt if bittersweet ending. From Martin Lawrence's wild transformations to the off-screen conflicts and unexpected moments of heart, Martin wasn't just comedy, it was history in the making. But what about you? Which of these secrets surprised you the most? Did you already know any of them, or did one completely change how you see the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.